Welcome once again to yet another beautiful day, another beautiful program, another beautiful you and me. This is Manas TV Africa, and of course, this is Kato Mukasa, your host, as usual. And of course, in the studios, I have Dennis Bongle, who's our producer, who's the man behind everything you see on the screen. He's behind adding the photos together. What I only do is to do research, and he does the real work of putting them together so that you can be able to see them. This work is done by so many people behind me. I do not work alone. You only see my face, but of course, there are many people behind me. Now, I want to request you, remind you, a kind reminder, a polite reminder that please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please kindly do subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is Humanist TV Africa. It is, of course, a Facebook page, but also a TV, Humanist TV Africa, where we are broadcasting in so many African countries, where we are becoming a force to reckon with. We have studios in Uganda, 3 studios in Uganda. We have studios in Kenya, we have studios in Nigeria, we have studios in Zambia, Zimbabwe, we have studios in Ghana. We have studios in Ghana. Now, we are going to have more studios across Africa. We want to have studios in Zambia. We want to have studios in Egypt. We want to have studios in South Africa, in Malawi, in Botswana. So right now I'm calling upon my humanist community in Tanzania. Please get in touch with me and we find ways of working with you directly because I already know you are there. I've been in your countries, in Ethiopia. You want to have studios there. This is Humanist TV Africa, and I am your host, Kato Mukasa. Why do we exist? We exist to educate, learn, and unlearn. I should tell you, I learn from you. I learn from the criticisms you give us. I learn from the feedback you give us, and I learn from the encouragement you give us. Please keep it going. Give us the comments. Let us know what we are doing right. Let us know what we are not doing so right so that we can be able to improve. Remember, we want to reach 1 million people. But if every journey starts with one person, today we're a bit growing. I want to encourage you to continue subscribe. Please kindly share this video. Kindly share this video, but also share the link. Share the link. Humanist TV Africa. Please like, follow, subscribe on our page. Today, I'm handling something very interesting as a historian, as a researcher, as a lawyer, as a humanist. I follow history so much because history made me, because I'm part of history, and because I am making history right now with my team, Humanist TV Africa. Today, we are going to handle something very important, the story, the controversial story of one woman who became so important in world history, a woman who became important in world history, a woman many other women have been looking up to. That woman is called Cleopatra. That woman is called Cleopatra the seventh. Now, if someone is called the seventh, what does it mean in mathematics? It means that there was the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. She is the seventh. Mark that. Now, if there were other 6 Cleopatras from the Ptolemaic dynasty, why do we keep on talking about Cleopatra the seventh? She's the seventh. There were 6 others. She was not the first Cleopatra in the Ptolemaic dynasty. Why do we talk about her? There were other 8 generations of Ptolemies. Generations, mark that word, of Ptolemies in Egypt. Why don't we talk about the 8 generations of Ptolemy in Egypt and we talk about Cleopatra? Now, that must interest you, that there was something special about this Cleopatra. Why don't we talk about others who led before her? Why don't we talk about her father? Why don't we talk about her great grandfather, Ptolemy Sota? Why don't we talk about Sota? Why do we talk about Cleopatra the seventh, not the 6th, not the 5th? Why? Because she was an enigma. Because she was a force to reckon with. Because she made history. Now, I'm going to decode the mystery behind Cleopatra. I'm going to decode the lies behind Cleopatra, and I'm going to leave this platform today in a few minutes when you understand why the lies and why Cleopatra must be remembered the way she was supposed to be remembered. Remember that I value Cleopatra more than I value any other historical mythical figures because Cleopatra lived. I don't value Jesus Christ, I don't value Muhammad, because to me, they are mythical figures. Cleopatra lived before you are Jesus Christ. Cleopatra lived before you are Muhammad. So I value Cleopatra more than you are Jesus Christ. In fact, I don't value Jesus Christ at all. But I value Cleopatra so much, more than Jesus Christ, more than Muhammad, more than anything. Because she made real history. She lived in time. It's not mythology. We're not talking about someone who sat on a horse and ran away. We talk about a woman who was born in the Ptolemaic dynasty, BCE 69, BCE, before Christ's era. So Cleopatra, if she was alive today, should have been 2,000 years plus. She would have been 2,000 years old plus. She's older than Jesus Christ. Now, Cleopatra, why do you remember her? When there were other Cleopatras before her? Because she made a remarkable history. She's the only queen of Egypt who mended relationships with the Romans, but also failed to maintain them. The only queen of Egypt who had an affair with the two strong and powerful Roman generals, one, Julius Caesar, for political reasons, and two, Mark Antony for the love. Two Roman rulers had a sexual affair with this woman, Cleopatra, and two Roman emperors had children with her. Julius Caesar had one son with her, Caesarion, who was later killed at 17 years, and Mark Antony had 3 children with her. Only one survived to become an important person in the history of Cleopatra. Now, a woman who has a mystery, who is able to maneuver between 2 generals, who is able to defeat her brothers and sisters, so that she can become the apparent heir and become so strong, a woman who maneuvers to be an orator, a woman who is able to speak 9 languages, a woman who is a poet, a woman who is a philosopher, a woman who is an artist, a woman who is a thinker, a philosopher, an orator, a diplomat. This woman was unique. There was something unique about Cleopatra. Yet, your movies are telling you lies. I watch them and I laugh because actually they are giving people lies. Historians, credible historians in ancient Egypt, credible historians in Greece, credible historians in Rome, Roman Empire, Macedonia, have written greatly about Cleopatra and have told her story, which to me is credible. Then why do I need to rely on a liar called Netflix to lie about a history? Netflix is lying. Movies are lying. Cleopatra, first of all, was not beautiful, as the movies show her. Cleopatra was clearly not beautiful. Her nose was not as straight and as small. Her nose was a bit bigger. Yet her face was also plump. She was not beautiful, as the movies show her. She was an ordinary woman doing extraordinary things. She was never beautiful. No serious historian has said Cleopatra was a beautiful woman. No. She was just intelligent. 9 languages, a historian, a philosopher, an orator, a diplomat, a fighter. Cleopatra was a fighter as well. Cleopatra would lead an army, though not at the forefront, but she could join the war. She fights alongside Mark Antony, as I'm going to show you. She's not someone you can despise. She's strong. She's a fighter. She's a speaker. She's an orator. She's a philosopher. She is a thinker. She's not extremely beautiful, but she can maneuver between men. How can you maneuver between two generals of the Roman Empire? She can deceive one to get another. She's too cunning. She's too intelligent. She's too intelligent. She wants power, and she's looking for ways to keep power. Now she's going to use her body. She's going to use her brain. That is Cleopatra. Now, when is Cleopatra born? In Alexandria. Now, we go back into history. I'm going to take you into history. Before I open up the photo montage, which I'll run within 20 minutes, I want to give you a clear history. Now, Cleopatra was born in a generation of the Ptolemy. But how did the Ptolemy dynasty form? I told you in one of my videos, just go back into archives, that there was Macedonia, a small kingdom that was said to be part of Greece. But in this kingdom was a king called Philip, who became the father of a great man that later on we got to know as Alexander the Great. And I told you that the history has it that Philip, King Philip, had his son Alexander the Great be tutored at the age of 13, be tutored by a great man called Aristotle. Aristotle himself was a student of Socrates. No, Aristotle was a student of Plato. Plato was a student of Socrates. These are Athenians. These are Greek philosophers I read as a child, 12 years, 13 years. I was reading Greek history. I love the Greek people. I love Greeks. They are intelligent. Now, I read clearly that Xylophone interprets Socrates' book, but Socrates is a teacher to Plato, and Plato is a teacher to Aristotle. Who does Aristotle teach? Aristotle teaches Alexander the Great at the age of 13 at Mizeta, the temple of Mizeta. Now, he teaches him for 7 years, and then Alexander the Great, later on we see him taking over the world. In summary, Alexander defeated almost every important army in the world. And he died at the age of 32. And his body remained warm for 12 days and more. And the man died mysteriously, but having conquered literally the entire world, he conquered the entire Arab world. He conquered much of Asia up to India. He conquered much of Europe. He conquered North Africa. One man, Alexander the Great. Starting from Macedonia, a very small kingdom. Right now, look for a country called North Macedonia, the Republic of North Macedonia. That's where Alexander the Great was. Now, Alexander the Great is the only guy who picks Ptolemy, who becomes the great grandfather of Cleopatra. Ptolemy had grown in the palace of Alexander's father. Alexander's father, remember the name? Philip III. So Ptolemy, who becomes the great grandfather of Cleopatra, grows in a royal family. Therefore, Ptolemy, Sota Ptolemy, knew Alexander the Great because they grew up together. Now, when Alexander the Great fights the war, he picks his better men. One of the better men is called Sota Ptolemy, good fighter. He uses this guy to go and conquer Egypt. Remember, Egyptians were chasing the Persians away. When they saw the Romans coming, they got the Persians, arrested them, slaughtered them, beheaded them. And Ptolemy Sota, with Alexander the Great, were welcomed in Alexandria, not Alexandria but in Egypt, as heroes. Now, when Alexander the Great dies at the age of 32, very young, what happens? Generals begin fighting all over. They are fighting in Arabia, they are fighting in Europe, they are fighting in Egypt. Everyone wants to become a leader. Ptolemy Sota who becomes the great-great-grandfather of Cleopatra, takes over the control of ancient Kemet. Therefore, becomes the leader. That's how Ptolemy Sota establishes his own dynasty. We call it the Ptolemy dynasty, which ruled for over 200 years. Because these were 9 generations. They ruled for over 200 years. Ptolemy dynasty in ancient Kemet ruled for over 200 years. Now, this becomes interesting. I've given a history. How does Greece Macedonia takes over Egypt? I've told you, Alexander, Ptolemy, rule together, fight together. Good general takes over Egypt upon the death of who? Alexander the Great. Now, Ptolemy's daughter has so many children, has so many wives, and the generation moves. But Ptolemy's daughter was specific. He never wanted the bloodline of the Greek Macedonian to be mixed with other people. He wanted his bloodline to remain royal. What did the next Ptolemy do? Ptolemies would marry among themselves. You can imagine marrying your uncle's daughter. You can imagine marrying your nephew, marrying your cousin. They would marry within their family. The Ptolemies were known for being so unique in keeping their bloodline, not that one. For you people are saying, oh, it was black. Now I'm going to explain to you. The Ptolemies were known for generations for keeping it within the family. Don't be surprised that the first 6 generations of the Ptolemy never married outside Greece, outside Macedonia. Told them whatever you want. They wanted to keep it Caucasian. They wanted to keep it Ptolemy. They never married outside. First 6 generations. The second generation, which brings the grandfather of Cleopatra, changes things. The grandfather of Patra, the grandfather of Cleopatra, is known to have married many women, but some of them were Greek Macedonians, and some were from the religious elites of local Egyptians. Mark that one. Some of the women, he had many concubines. Some say he had 2 official women and many concubines. The grandfather of who? Of Cleopatra. The historians say that he had 2 official women who were Caucasians like him, because they had kept their blood and they had kept it Macedonia, Greece, only Caucasians within the Ptolemy family. There was no black person inside there. Ptolemy family was known for keeping it only Caucasian. That's why they could make a sister marry a brother. I'm repeating that one. They were so desperate to keep it Caucasian that they could make a sister marry a brother. And I'm going to explain to you later. Now, for 6 generations, they never intermarried outside Caucasian blood. They kept it within Greece, Macedonian. Greece blood, Macedonian blood. Kept it inside. Now, from the 7th generation, things changed. Because the great-grandfather, the grandfather of Cleopatra, had concubines, some of them who were black. But these concubines, it was said, they were also from a special family, which was for the religious deities. In ancient Kemet, when I look at my history, I told that among the families in ancient Kemet, one of the most noble one was a family that came from the religious elites. The people who were taken as goddess. They were extremely brown and were taken as goddess. Now, it is said that one of the concubines of Ptolemy, the grandfather of Cleopatra, had an affair with one of these goddesses, one of these ladies who was not Caucasian, but African. Now, the theory says that perhaps it's the reason why when later on Cleopatra is born, his father does not expose her mother because her mother more likely say might have been mixed blood. Yet the Plotamies were known for many generations for keeping it Plotamy. That's why a brother would marry a sister. As bad as that. Now that's why there's no history to show us who was the mother of Cleopatra. We don't know. No historian I've come across has told me the mother of Cleopatra. So we don't know on that one. That's why there are theories that perhaps Cleopatra's mother perhaps had a mixed race, not completely black, but a mulatto, a mixture of a Caucasian and a black woman. And they are saying that's why we don't know much about her mother. But they're also saying that that's why, besides all other Plotamy women, it was only Cleopatra who spoke the Egyptian language. Why? They asked that question. Why is it that Cleopatra was able to speak the language of the Greek, the language of the Egyptians, when others couldn't speak it properly? But Cleopatra was so fluent to speak with the local Egyptians. She knew the language. How? Now, people begin saying that maybe her mother, mark that one, maybe her mother was a mixed between the Plotamy and an African Egyptian. Maybe that's why she knew the language. But again, another theorist say that, look, Cleopatra was given teachers. She went to the best university in course. And she was taught all these languages. Maybe she learned the languages from there. Mark what I said clearly. Theories. One, that maybe her mother was half black, half Plotamy, Caucasian. Maybe she learned the language in a university because she was taken to school. Her father loved Cleopatra. Why? Cleopatra was intelligent. But what happens in between? She learns 9 languages. She's damn good. She's damn smart. She can maneuver. Her father thinks Cleopatra may lead. But her father sees that he has other sons and he has other daughters. Now they are going to be fighting for the throne. Now her father wants to favor Cleopatra. What does the father do? The father tells Cleopatra to marry her brother, who is about 13 years. You see the history? That a father can tell her daughter to marry her brother to keep it within the family. And why? Because the history of the Plotamy is that they used to kill each other over the throne. They were killing each other over the throne. You can imagine brothers were killing sisters to know who is going to take over. It was a history of 200 years plus of ruling. Kemet. You call it Egypt, I call it Kemet. You call it Egypt, I call it Kemet. So it was years of ruling Kemet, which we call Egypt. But this one family, this one dynasty, they always had internal struggles. There is history from the 4th generation to the 6th generation of interkilling. They are killing each other. Father kills brother. Brother kills sister. Look at their history. The Plotamians were so violent. The Plotamians always fought for the next leader within the family. And to avoid that, the first generations always ensure that they marry within each other. It was okay to marry your nephew. It was okay to marry your cousin. It was even okay as worse as marrying your brother. That Cleopatra is given her brother, a 13-year-old boy, Ptolemy the 14th, I think, to marry her, just because they want to avoid a war between the siblings. The siblings, everyone wants to rule. But the father sees that Cleopatra is so intelligent, there's no way she can be without a leader. She has been trained by the best scholars in Egypt, in Alexandria, and she has to be a scholar. She has to be a leader. Her father says, my daughter must be a queen. But how do I beat these sisters? How do I beat the brothers? Let me marry the two. A brother is married to a sister. And Cleopatra doesn't like it. but it's a must. It must be done. Now you can imagine a struggle happens, they are fighting for power. Meanwhile, Rome didn't stop the relationship between Rome and Egypt. Call it Kemet, as I call it. Now, Rome always wanted to treat Egypt as part of their empire or republic. Call it republic. Part of their republic, part of their constituency. Now, there was already a war between General Pompey. Go and look for General Pompey in history. One of the best fighters in Rome, General Pompey. There was a war between General Pompey and Julius Caesar. All of them want to take over Rome. All of them want to lead. Now, Julius Caesar fought his fierce enemy in General Pompey. General Pompey always beat Caesar down, and Caesar would always beat Pompey, but no one would win. Now, what do they do? Pompey had a good relationship with the Ptolemy in Egypt. Now, Pompey was always in good books with the father of Cleopatra. They would always give him armies and soldiers to go and fight Julius Caesar. Now, Julius Caesar wants to find a way of having Ptolemy on his side. Now, what does he do? He starts talking with the Ptolemies. I want you to back me, not Pompey. Yet Pompey has been a favorite of the Ptolemy. Now, the father of Cleopatra is put into jeopardy. Now, he's wondering, who do I choose? These two generals, all of them want my support. What do I do? And Julius Caesar is becoming so strong at the time that Pompey is getting weaker, and getting weaker. So what does Ptolemy do in Egypt? He betrays General Pompey. General Pompey comes to Egypt like running away. He comes for protection in Egypt to get more armies. What does Ptolemy do? The father of Cleopatra gets General Caesar and Pompey, gets Pompey, and he's beheaded. He betrays Pompey and beheads Pompey to please who? To please Julius Caesar. Now, that's how the Ptolemies take over the side of Julius Caesar. But Julius Caesar is not impressed by the death of General Pompey, especially when he went to Alexandria and was shown the head of General Pompey. He said, even when I was fighting this man, I never wanted to kill him in this bad way. He was my fellow citizen. We are fighting for the same throne, but I never wanted you to behead him. I never told you to behead him, because Caesar was so annoyed. He beheaded a man who advised Pompey to behead. Who advised Ptolemy to behead Pompey. That's how serious Caesar was. And because of that, Caesar never trusted the father of Cleopatra. Caesar hated the father of Cleopatra for killing Pompey. He said, Pompey was my rival, but I never wanted to kill him this way. This was so humiliating. How do you cut off his head? Is a man like me, is a soldier like me. We have to treat him fairly. Why did you cut off his head? He killed a man who advised Ptolemy to cut off the head of Pompey. Now, because of that, and by that time, Cleopatra had run away into exile, call it exile, because of a rivalry between herself and her sisters and brothers who thought she was a threat and wanted to kill her. Her own brother, husband brother, mark that, husband brother wanted to kill her for the throne. Sisters wanted to kill her for the throne. Brothers, the rest of the brothers, all of them wanted to kill Cleopatra. Why? She was her father's favorite and she was very intelligent. Now, when she runs away, she looks for Caesar. She looks for Caesar. Wherever she was, she looked for Caesar, went to Caesar, and used to has it that when she went there, she dressed herself in a very appetizing way, not so beautiful a woman, but very intelligent, and lured him into sex. And they became sex mates. And in fact, history shows that Cleopatra never loved Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar maybe just wanted a sex for a night, because Cleopatra was not beautiful in the first place, she was just intelligent, but she somehow got him into bed and had sex with him. What happens is that there was a pregnancy. That's how Cleopatra's first son Caesarion is born. And Caesarion is named after Julius Caesar to mean the young Julius Caesar. Caesarion is the young Caesar. And Caesar now has become the leader of the Republic in Rome. Caesar goes back, of course, after this kind of extraction encounter, and then before going back, Caesar fights a serious war to ensure that Cleopatra takes over the throne in Alexandria. Of course, the father is now dead, and the young ruler, who's about 14 years, I think by then, is there, the brother of Cleopatra, the so-called husband. And Cleopatra has her own brother murdered by the soldiers of Julius Caesar. Her own brother plus others. That's how dangerous Cleopatra could be when she wants power. She doesn't care about you. After all, they wanted to kill her. She had her own brother drowned in the sea, the would-be king. And then Cleopatra takes over the seat by the support of one man, Julius Caesar, who had the army, of course. But they fought for months. People say they fought for weeks, others they say they fought for months to take over Alexandria, to capture that place. Now, Cleopatra is a leader. She has a child of Alexander. She goes to Rome to visit Alexander, and Alexander makes a pomp, makes a big party, because his son, Caesarion, has come. By that time, I think Caesarion was about 3 years, and Cleopatra has come, and they get Cleopatra's sister. They make her move like a slave in the streets of Rome, tied on a cart, to humiliate. Cleopatra had her own sister humiliated in Rome to show that she's the one now leading in Egypt. She has her own sister humiliated in Rome. Her own brothers are humiliated because she has the side of Julius Caesar, and she wants to show that she's now the one in charge of Egypt. All her brothers and sisters are under her. She has her own sister humiliated, almost naked, paraded in Rome. Her own sister. Now, the rest is history. Alexander, Julius Caesar grows so much influence, and then Julius Caesar is killed because the Roman Republic feared that he was going to become a dictator. They stabbed him. How many stabs? 32 stabs or whatever. And remember the story, the saying of Marcus Antony, Brutus, why have you done this? Of all others, it's you, Brutus, to spare me. Julius Caesar dies saying such words. Why have you killed me? They stabbed him in the back. So many stabs. Almost all the members of the Senate stabbed Julius Caesar. They had come with daggers. They came with swords hidden in their big clothes, jackets. And when the man was talking with them, they surrounded him and stabbed him. They killed Julius Caesar. What happens? Cleopatra is not safe. It is believed that his son Caesarion is going to become the leader of Rome. Therefore, Cleopatra must run away and go back to Egypt. When she goes back to Egypt, what happens? Octavian, the nephew of Julius Caesar, is declared the leader. Why? Because Mark Antony stood up and said, look, Julius Caesar, I have the will of Julius Caesar. Remember the famous statement, the famous speech I've been giving of Mark Antony. I've not come here to praise Julius Caesar. I've come here to bury my friend Julius Caesar. For the good things men do are buried with them, and the bad things men do live to haunt them. I'm not here to praise Julius Caesar. I'm here to bury my friend. Speech by Mark Antony. Now, Mark Antony gives a speech in the city of Rome before thousands of people who loved Julius Caesar, and he tells them, we are going to avenge whoever killed Julius Caesar, and he does so. He gets Octavian, the young fella, and he told them that Octavian, the guy you see here, a nephew and adopted son of Julius Caesar, was named the heir of Julius Caesar because Julius Caesar had left his will with Mark Antony, his greatest friend. So Mark Antony reads the will of Julius Caesar and tells them, look, don't hurt the young boy, Caesarion, the son of Julius Caesar, with Cleopatra. Don't harm the young boy. Young boy is innocent. In fact, his father never wanted him to become a ruler of Rome. His father thought he's going to be a ruler of Egypt. Leave the boy alone. Don't kill the boy. In fact, the person to lead after Julius Caesar is his adopted son, Octavian. And Octavia is shown to the public. He's about 17 years, I think, by that time. He's a young man, but very ambitious. Now, Octavian is shown to the public, and Romans welcome him. But there's a war still between factions. Now, they have to look for whoever killed Julius Caesar. They have to look for them, and then they go for them. They kill almost everyone that had killed Julius Caesar. They killed almost everyone to avenge the death of Julius Caesar. But now, after avenging the death of Julius Caesar, Octavian fears Mark Antony. The young man now, who is the leader, fears Mark Antony. Why? Because Mark Antony also wants to be a leader. You know politics, you know power. Mark Antony says, this is a young boy. Me, I'm a general. I'm a fighter. I've been fighting for all these years. I'm so strong. This boy is just young. How can he be a leader? Now, a war breaks between Octavian, the heir of Julius Caesar, and then Mark Antony. They are fighting. Everyone has their soldiers. They divide Rome into two. Octavian takes one part, where the city is, and Mark Antony takes another part, the eastern part. The larger part is taken by Mark Antony. All of them have soldiers. Now, the story gets more interesting because all of them have soldiers and they are fighting each other. Now, Mark Antony, Octavia tells Mark Antony, look, you are my senior. You must marry my sister to forgive you. Marry my sister. Marry my sister, Octavian. Now, Mark Antony is forced to marry the sister of Octavia for peace. He marries this sister, Octavia, and within 2 years, they have 3 children. Octavian wanted children badly. Why? Because Octavia, the son, the ruler, thought that but maybe when this Mark Antony marries my sister, we shall not be fighting. Yet Mark Antony never loved Octavian. It was just for politics. Mark Antony still loved Cleopatra. Mark Antony went ahead to have 3 children with Cleopatra. 2 of them were twins. One of them was named after the god moon, and that twin was named after the god sun. 2 twins, one named after the god moon, another named after the god sun. Now, 2 children plus 1 young one, a young boy, who came last. So I'm showing that now Cleopatra had 3 children with Mark Antony. Mark Antony is married to Octavian's sister, Octavian. Now, but Mark Antony doesn't love Octavian's sister. It is political inconvenience. They're doing it, they still fight. Now, the fight is so intense that Mark Antony now has to run away so that he can be able to have soldiers from Egypt. Now, this is where the combination of the soldiers of Egyptian soldiers with the armies of Mark Antony want to fight Octavia, and Rome is so powerful. What happens? Rome defeats Octavia. Octavia defeats Mark Antony's army, and Cleopatra was in the war. Cleopatra fought alongside her husband, the father of her 3 children, the father of her twins, and her 1 young boy. She was a fighter. She went to the war to fight. They fought and fought and fought. Many soldiers of Egypt were killed. Many soldiers of Mark Antony were killed because Octavian had got a strong Roman army. They defeated them. When they defeated them, Cleopatra runs away to go back to Egypt. When she goes back to Egypt, she tells a lie. She tells them, look, we have won. Now my husband is the leader of Rome. We have killed Octavia. Octavia hears it. Octavia kills Cleopatra's son, Caesarion. Octavia immediately kills the son of Cleopatra, the son he had had with Julius Caesar. The young Julius Caesar called Caesarion was killed, murdered by Octavia in retaliation to Cleopatra. And of course, to safeguard his throne, because Octavia always feared that now it seems Caesarion, they are simply telling me like Mark Antony wants to install Caesarion, the son of Julius Caesar, in my place. Now, Octavian always wanted to kill Caesarion. Now, got a chance, had Caesarion killed, murdered, assassinated. Now, Cleopatra knows that they have lost the war in Rome, but it goes ahead to tell lies in Egypt. Why? She's proud. She wants her husband to be important. But her husband knows that they are losing the war. Now, Cleopatra attempts to desperately attempts to reach out, and she cannot reach out to Mark Antony. Mark Antony is told a lie that actually Cleopatra is dead and is at the war front. He's told a lie that Cleopatra has been killed by who? By Octavia. Now, Mark Antony loved so much Cleopatra that Mark Antony stabbed himself in the chest and in the stomach to kill himself. He was bleeding. He was bleeding until one was told, no, we told you a lie. There was a lie told to you. Actually, Cleopatra is still alive. He said, take me to Cleopatra. Take me to Cleopatra. They took Mark Antony when he was bleeding. Intestines out. He's bleeding. He's almost dying. He stabbed himself, wanted to kill himself. Why? Because he had been told that his lover, Cleopatra, had been killed by Octavian. Now, the time they reached where Cleopatra was, Mark Antony was so weak, he had lost so much blood, and then he died in the arms, in the arms of Cleopatra. Cleopatra was so hit by the death of Mark Antony that for 6 days she was cutting herself with scissors, with knives. She was beating herself. She refused to eat. She wanted to commit suicide. And Octavian sent soldiers to say, guard her 24/7. She doesn't need to kill herself. I want to see her suffer. Octavian said, I want to see Cleopatra suffer. Let her not kill herself. But somehow she was a king. I said she was a king, not even a queen. Cleopatra had her own way. People say she gave herself poison. Others say she had a snake bite her. But all the same, it was suicide. Cleopatra killed herself after 9 days, after the death of Mark Antony. 9 days passed, she killed herself and died. Now, that is the story of Cleopatra. Impact is so much. History is so much. There were 400 years in Egypt where they were worshipping a goddess called Cleopatra. She was equated to Isis, the mother god, the Holy Spirit. That's how she was revered in ancient Kemet. She was loved, but she killed herself. She committed suicide. They said she took poison. They said she took a snake, had to bite her. She got a snake and beat her to death. All those are theories, but the point is she died. Now, I'm going to take you through a montage of photos. Then we're going to be very fast. The story I've given it, but here I'm going to be reinforcing it with words so that the story comes out now very well with the pictorial. Dennis, please give us the pictorial and very fast as you may want it, because I want to explain so much now. Thank you so much. Cleopatra and Enigma. Now I'm going to also be explaining to you why. Dennis, continue. That's the Ptolemy dynasty. I've told you that it was from the Ptolemy dynasty. It was a history from Julius Caesar to Rome, general in Rome, and how he fought up to Egypt, and how Egypt was left in the hands of Sota, Ptolemy, who also established his own kingdom. That is how big the Ptolemy dynasty. No, actually, this is history of Ptolemy, but that's how big the Roman Empire. No, not the Roman Empire. Of course, we are talking about the Alexander the Great dynasty was, or empire, or rule was. You know, the Ptolemy dynasty. Seeing all those pictures. Yes, then let's continue with the photos now, because I've explained. I want to take my breath as you show the photos. Yeah, that is Cleopatra. Cleopatra was not beautiful at all. No one should tell you a lie. She was an ugly woman. No one should tell you a lie. She was not beautiful at all. First-wise, she was ugly. Coins show that she was ugly. She had a big nose, not a very sharp nose, big cheeks. She was not beautiful at all. They shouldn't tell you a lie. She was only very intelligent. She was never beautiful at all. Never beautiful at all. She was only intelligent. She spoke 9 languages. All those words they fought, she was always there. History shows that she was actually part of the fighters at one point. And of course, the history of Egypt, here we see that Alexander and Sota are welcomed in Egypt. That's the Sphinx of Egypt. And Alexander is made the pharaoh. I'm giving the history. How did the how did the Ptolemy dynasty come to be? The Ptolemy, mind my pronunciation. How did it come to be in Egypt? You know, and how Alexander the Great was made a pharaoh of Egypt. I'm giving the history of the Ptolemy dynasty. How did it establish itself in Kemet? I've already finished the story in a brief. I'm going to tell you now how it came to be that in Egypt. And now I will be telling you why the confusion, why people say she was black, she was not black, she was Caucasian. It doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you why. So that is Alexander the Great, and now she is a product of Alexander the Great. And why actually, what some of the kings of the Ptolemaic dynasty, you can see them, they were Greek, they were completely Caucasian. None of them was black. Let them not tell you a lie. None of them was black. None of the Ptolemy was black. That's a lie these hopeless Pan-Africanists want to parade. None of the Ptolemy rulers was black. They were Caucasians. They were Greece Macedonian. They were never black. Now, these movies want us to fight wars. They get an image of a black Cleopatra with an image of a Caucasian Cleopatra to make people fight. It's nonsense. Cleopatra was not black. And I'm repeating it here on this TV. Cleopatra was not black. Cleopatra was not black. Cleopatra was not black. Cleopatra was simply a product of Greece Macedonian ancestry. Greece Macedonian ancestry. Whatever these historians are using metrics for their own gain, I don't know. But I want to stand here on this TV and tell you that Cleopatra was never black. If anything, Cleopatra had mixed blood, if they say so. But if you can compare it again, it might have been like 5%. That's why people said she had a big nose a bit and some big cheeks. So what you see there on the screen is not Cleopatra. That's the movie Cleopatra. That's not Cleopatra. Cleopatra is seen on the coins I've shown you. So I'm here to dispel the myth that Cleopatra was black. Cleopatra was never black. Now, the image on the right will give you the exact image of Cleopatra as was coined on the coins of ancient Rome and Greece. Ancient Rome and Greece showed Cleopatra the way she was, not the one on the left, the one on the right. Big nose, a bit of round cheeks. But Cleopatra was purely a Caucasian. Cleopatra was not black. Stop telling lies. You can see the image of Cleopatra on the left, and the image of Cleopatra in the middle and on the far right. Those are just movie images, but the one on the left is much more accurate. Thank you, Dennis, for actually putting them together that way. The one on the right, on the left, the image on the left is much more accurate. A bit of big nose and some more lump face, but still Caucasian. Cleopatra was Caucasian. Do not tell lies. Cleopatra was not black. If at all she was black, she was only 5% black. If at all by any accident that she was black, she was only 5% black. 95% of Cleopatra was purely Greece Macedonian. Why? They used to intermarry. They used to intermarry. A brother would marry a sister to keep the blood. So if her mother was still a mixed mulatto, still she would be more of a Caucasian than a black woman. So I repeat it, Cleopatra was never black. Look at the image in the middle. Look at the image in the middle. That image is got from a coinage from ancient Rome and ancient Greece. That is a Caucasian. That's not a black woman. That is a Caucasian. That woman is not this woman on the left. Now, here is a montage that tries to give the confusion that we see this woman on the right, that was Cleopatra. Cleopatra was not dark peach. Do not spread this false propaganda again. Cleopatra was never black. Cleopatra was a Caucasian of Macedonian Greece ancestry. They used to marry each other. They used to marry within the family. They used to marry brother and sister to keep the blood purely Macedonian. She was simply an ugly woman, not the one you see in the photo. Those are lies. I've been reading books, so I wanted to put them here. Those books are telling lies about Cleopatra being black. Cleopatra was not black. Cleopatra was a Caucasian. Cleopatra was a Caucasian raised within the Greek Macedonian ancestry. She might have not been so as white. You call them white. I don't call them white. They're not white people. But she was close to that. She was close to that. If at all Cleopatra had a black blood, some black blood in her, it was so small. Because even the so-called religious groups where they could marry, they were also mulattoes. They were not completely black people. So stop telling lies about Cleopatra's skin. Cleopatra was purely depicted as a Caucasian. Now, when you look at these photos, on the right, that's the image as was portrayed by the Egyptians then. And on the right is the image generated by historians after reading books that maybe it was not as bright as Caucasians. You can look at the image, then leave it a bit. Leave it a bit. You can leave it, the black roots of Cleopatra. Leave that image for 1 minute. When you look at these images, they are giving you the black roots of Cleopatra. And said maybe because of the history of her family, that her family at one time used to marry women among the religious tribe in Egypt, which was partially black. Maybe that's why she had a mulatto blood in her. And because her father was also a polygamous man, and her grandfather was also a polygamous man who also married beyond the Ptolemy dynasty or ancestry, maybe she had a likelihood of having some little blood of a black person. That's the theory they front. And I always say that that theory is not accurate, because that theory leaves a small window. When you look at a family which has a brother marries a sister, it is possible. But that theory leaves a window of only 5% chance of having a little black blood in her. It might have been possible, but the chances are so slim that one would conclude that Cleopatra was purely Macedonian Greek ancestry. Then let's continue. Yeah, those are images. We are tracing the black roots of Cleopatra, what they are claiming. Look at the photo on the right. These are photos got from ancient Kemet. That's how they depict her. On the right, the nose is a bit big, but still good. But people are saying that actually these photos are not right. They're also telling lies about her. But some will give you an image that she was not black as me. She was not looking black as me. Come on, don't insult us. Don't insult history. She was extremely brown. Call them orange, call them yellow, whatever you want to call them. But she was not black. And I've been repeating that in my theories. She was not black. Look at that. She was not black. If at all she had a black ancestry in her, as a result of the intermarriages and marrying from the religious family, as we see later, her daughter Serene, when she went to present-day Algeria, the country was called Mauritania by that time, where her daughter had gone to get married. Her daughter was beginning to sacrifice for the gods of Egypt. People say, oh, you see, her daughter was sacrificing for the gods of Egypt. It means her daughter knew that her mother had a black blood in her. People have said that. Maybe. But still, when you look at the history, this black blood in them might have been about 5%. Now they have brought this black roots of Cleopatra. That look at these images. You see how black they were. These images. See, no, Cleopatra never looked like that. Never looked like that. They were black African Egyptian kings. Cleopatra never looked like them. And again, because historians have placed Cleopatra at the center of the Ankh. Remember I told you about the Ankh? The Father, the Mother, the Holy Spirit, that symbol you see of the cross, that is Cleopatra being dated. Cleopatra was made a god. And all these Africans wanted to worship gods. They have been made a god for 400 years. They used to worship that image of Cleopatra. So I normally ask a question, why play the race card? Does it matter at all? Cleopatra was born 69 BC, died 12th August 30 BC, and she lived her life. At the age of 17, she had become a queen of Egypt. And those are the images they have been getting. Does the race card matter? Yes, for those who are racists, it may matter. No, to me, who is a thinker, the race card doesn't matter. We must concentrate. Dennis, simply go ahead. I won't explain the photos now. I want to conclude. Simply go ahead, Dennis, with the photos now. We must simply explain. These are photos from the movies and documentaries I've been watching to get this kind of story. But I want to show you. The movies are showing you a wrong picture of Cleopatra. They are showing you a very beautiful woman. Cleopatra was ugly. Cleopatra was never beautiful. Never, never, never. No historian has ever said that Cleopatra was beautiful. She was ugly. She was ugly. She was completely ugly. Now here she is with Julius Caesar. That was the movie. The movie showed her as intelligent, as so beautiful, as slender, as what. Those are movies. Movies are liars. Those are all movies. They are telling lies. They are telling lies. That's not how Cleopatra looked like. Those are lies in movies. Netflix and all those liars in movies are telling you lies. That was Alexandria. That was a part of the places in ancient Egypt where Cleopatra actually was a leader. I want to show you that. Dennis, let us rush the photos because now I'm going to shoot my time a bit. Alexandria, the great library Cleopatra actually read, where she went to study. She went to read books. Cleopatra was well educated. She was informed. She knew 9 languages. Very smart woman. That was ancient Egypt during the time of Cleopatra. That's the impression they are giving you. Very, very industrial place. Very, very developing. Egypt by the time was the richest state, not a state, the richest kingdom, dynasty in the Mediterranean area. It was the richest. That was Cleopatra with Mark Antony, the one she loved. You know, that is ancient Kemet, where Cleopatra was a leader. Cleopatra ruled for some good years. I think it was 22 years in power. She ruled for some good years. Those are movies. Movies are liars. That's not the image of Cleopatra. I repeat for you watching me. That is a lie. Cleopatra was an ugly woman. Cleopatra was never beautiful like that. She was never beautiful. She was. But that's a good image. Yes, that's a good image. You can say a nose. You can say a face. That is a good image of Cleopatra. Not the movies. The movies are telling lies as usual to attract. Now, that's the good image. Thank you, Dennis. The image on your screen right now is the true image of Cleopatra. Nose is quite big. There are some Caucasians, big noses, by the way. I've met so many Caucasians, big noses. You'll be surprised as if they're Africans. That's the real image of Cleopatra. That is the real image of Cleopatra. Big nose, a bit of fatty chips. That was Cleopatra, not beautiful at all. Yeah, the nose. Actually, historians have been writing about the nose of Cleopatra, that it was protruding, it was so big. Historians are funny. They have this Cleopatra with a funny nose, funny nose. That is Cleopatra. That's the real image of Cleopatra. She was Caucasian. Yeah, they have tried to make a montage. They have tried to make an improvement of Cleopatra that maybe she looked like this, maybe not so beautiful, a big nose, not so appealing, but intelligent. But intelligent. The images there are for movies. Those are wrong. that is not Cleopatra. That is a lie. She was ugly. And number two, she was not black. Now, that is ancient Egypt. Of course, the wars they fought. I'm going to take you through photos of the wars. Of course, here we see that she's losing her lover, you know, and all that stuff I've told you about already. Then let us continue, brother. Let's continue, brother, with the photos, please. Yeah, ancient Egypt was magnificent. The Kemet people had built Egypt to be one of the best places in the world. It was the richest Mediterranean dynasty for so many years, the richest dynasty in Mediterranean for so many years. That was where Cleopatra grew up from, because she was a daughter of a king. She grew up in luxury. Look what how smart that kind of palace was. This is where Cleopatra grew up from. She grew up in luxury. They had money. Her father was a king. They had been there for over 200 years. You know, that was how beautiful it was. You can even see the image of Cleopatra up there. She was glorified. She was worshipped even after her death. She was not black. Please don't tell lies. Cleopatra was not black. Even when her mother was not known, she was not black. Cleopatra was purely Greek, Macedonian root. So you Pan-Africanists, I'm here to tell you, your narrative is actually wrong. She was not black. So you can see Cleopatra here in the movies. Of course, movies are telling so many lies that they are making her god. They have glorified her, you know. Cleopatra with they said that she dressed seductively to entice Julius Caesar. She knew she was ugly. She wanted to get this man's attention. She dressed very provocatively to entice a man called Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar has taken over Egypt there, and yeah, they are preparing to fight a war. I've already said this. I'm just showing the photos of what I've been saying. She didn't. Cleopatra never looked like that. That is a lie. But movies are parading these lies. Here they are showing Cleopatra, of course, being in the presence of Julius Caesar. You know, that's Cleopatra. These are movies, of course, movies showing you this. They show you Cleopatra as an Egyptian, because even the Arabs want to claim Cleopatra. Incidentally, they want to claim they get their movies. They get Arabs to play Cleopatra. That Cleopatra was an Arab. No shame upon them, actually. So you can see Julius Caesar, then Mark Antony. We are showing these images of lovers of Cleopatra, men who had sex with Cleopatra. Then, of course, we see General Pompey. General Pompey, the head was cut off. Remember, Patorami betrayed that man and cut off his head. Yet the man was supporting him. They said that Cleopatra dressed seductively to go and win the heart of Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar there, that she had to dress very appetizing because she knew she was not beautiful, and she wanted to get her seat back in Alexandria. So she went, offered sex to Julius Caesar, and Julius Caesar took her back. Here, their son. That's their son, Caesarion. Remember, Caesarion was killed, murdered by Octavia. That Caesarion is the son Cleopatra had with Julius Caesar. Caesarion means the little Caesar. That is Cleopatra now, but has been installed back to Alexandria. She's the leader now. She's the star. Everyone loves her. She's a manipulator, you know. She knows how to play cards. She can change men. She can play Mark Antony. After the death of Julius Caesar, she gets the support of Mark Antony to fight back her wars in Egypt. You know, that is Cleopatra. She was so cunning. She was intelligent. She was a diplomat. She was a negotiator. She was a good woman, honestly. She was very intelligent. Leave around the beauty part of it. If someone says she was ugly, yes, but she was very intelligent. She was a very noble woman. She knew how to get men to her side. All those wars you see on the screen, Cleopatra was able to win some, lose some, because she was a good negotiator. She was a woman who could fight on the battlefield, but not so good. Here are the armies of Octavian and Octavian is facing Mark Antony, the last battle. This is when Mark Antony lost the war, and Octavia and Cleopatra was with him when he lost the war and decided to run away to Egypt. When she goes to Egypt and say, "Oh, we have won the war. We have won the war." They lost the war. All their boats were burnt. All their soldiers were killed. That's why Mark Antony was told Cleopatra is dead. And Mark Antony, what does he do? Here is Julius Caesar being given the head of Pompey. Julius Caesar never loved that kind of sin. How can you kill a man and cut off his head? He went and attacked them. He went, attacked them, and defeated them. How do you kill a man and cut off his head? There was a bitter war between Ptolemy, the father of Cleopatra, and the soldiers of Julius Caesar. Of course, the father of Cleopatra had died, and there was the brother of Cleopatra who was also the husband. You can imagine your brother is your husband, or the confusion. Julius Caesar takes over, and Julius Caesar, of course, loves Cleopatra. They're having all this kind of sex. They have a child together. Then we see later on, Julius Caesar is killed, and then Mark Antony takes over. Mark Antony becomes the husband of Cleopatra, and they have 3 children. 2 of them were twins. 2 of them were twins. 2 of them were twins, and of course, those twins, we got to know that they became so influential in the history. Not actually, they never became influential, apart from Serena, who went to become a queen. Serena became a queen somewhere in present-day Algeria. Yes. So we can say that Julius Caesar was killed in 44 BCE, and Cleopatra returns to Egypt. She has her 3 old sons, Caesarion. You can see that, of course, the empire is divided. Mark Antony and Cleopatra put on the coins, as you can see. Cleopatra had 3 children with Mark Antony. The twins, one of them was called Alexander Helios. Another one was called Cleopatra Selene, 2, and the younger boy was called Ptolemy Phidias. But we only know about Cleopatra Selene because the other 2 were taken under the care of Octavian's sister, and they believe that she killed them. They believe that maybe she killed those children of Cleopatra because only one became to be known as Cleopatra Selene, who became a leader in a place called Mauritania, which became Algeria today. And so Selene is the only one known in history among the children of Cleopatra. Others are not known because probably it is said that Octavian might have killed them. And of course, we said that Octavian became the first Roman Empire leader to be called Emperor Augustus Caesar. Emperor Augustus Caesar. He did kill the children of Cleopatra, but he took them to his sister, Octavian, who it is believed might have mistreated the boys for fear that they would take over from his brother. Some people say that he killed the boys and only one survived. That is the daughter who became Selene too, who became a king, who became a queen, married to King Juba of Numida. King Juba of Numida at the age of 15. Selene was married, the daughter of Octavia was married, and then he went to a place called Mauritania, which is today called Algeria, where she ruled and had 2 children and died at the age of 35. I'm talking about Selene, the daughter of Cleopatra. So there's only one person that we know that survived after the death of Cleopatra. That was her daughter, Cleopatra Selene, who married young at 15, forced into a marriage to marry a king, the king King Juba of Numidia, who went on to rule a place called Mauritania in Algeria, because this is where Octavia sent him. And we see that Selene, the only surviving child of Cleopatra, we see Selene actually worshiping Egyptian gods later. There were days when this king, the queen of Algeria, it was called Mauritania, became always worshipped black gods. And they say, okay, maybe because she had been told she has black roots, maybe. That's why the theory said, okay, I think they are having some black blood in them, because even Serene Cleopatra too, Cleopatra Serene too, the daughter of Cleopatra used to worship black gods. Maybe they had that kind of blood. Dennis, thank you so much for this. Dennis, thank you so much for this. We'll go back to the screen. Thank you so much, Dennis. I've given the history of Cleopatra. I've told you that the only surviving person from her 4 children was only a young woman called Cleopatra Serene II, who Octavia forced to marry at the age of 15, marrying to King Juba of Numida. And then Octavia gave them to go and rule a place called Mauritania, which later became Algeria, because it was under their control. Now, the other 2 boys, it is believed that Octavian's sister killed them for fear that they would take over from her brother, Octavia. Of course, that Octavia killed the only son Cleopatra had with Julius Caesar, Caesarion, at the age of 17. The boy was killed. So we don't know much about who survived Cleopatra, apart from her only daughter that we know in history, and that the name is Cleopatra Serene II, and only survived because she went outside of Rome to marry and became a queen there. But when she was there, people are saying that she was worshipping black gods of Egypt when she was in Algeria. And people said that because she was worshipping black gods, maybe she had been told that she had a black connection with her ancestry. Maybe she had been told that her grandmother was a black woman. That's why that's why Cleopatra Serene II was worshipping black gods. So that's why theory says, okay, I think they had a black blood in them. That's why Cleopatra Serene II was worshipping the black gods of Egypt, because she had been told that you have a black root in you. But to me, I say, does it matter? Does it matter? What does it matter to say that, oh, she was this, she was that? Why don't we concentrate on looking at the good things that made Cleopatra good? The inspiration Cleopatra gave to women in Africa that they could lead, because Cleopatra, despite not being beautiful, but she was very intelligent, she was able to rule for over 22 years. And she became a leader at about 17 years. She died a bit young. Why didn't we take that lesson? That say, oh, Cleopatra was black, Cleopatra was white. What does it help us? I've told you my own understanding. Cleopatra was not looking black. So that movie of Netflix is wrong. Is a racist movie, is playing a racist card. Stop it. Cleopatra was not black. Never had my skin. Never. It was always kept in their family. That's why a brother would marry a sister. That's why Cleopatra was forced to marry her own brother, Ptolemy the 14th. Why? Because it was always kept within the blood. A brother could marry a sister to keep it Ptolemy, to keep it Macedonia Greek blood. They never wanted to have anything to do with other blood in their family. They never. Yet, her grandfather was polygamous, had concubines. They say were from a religious sect among the Egyptians who were mulattoes, who were a bit black. That's why the theory said that maybe she had some black blood in it. And I asked myself, does it matter? Does it matter playing this hopeless race card? It doesn't matter. To me, as I conclude, Cleopatra was simply a Greek Macedonian who was raised in Egypt, who loved Egypt, who loved Kemet, and who fought for her throne and got it, who played 2 men and got them, who had children with 2 important men in history, and who killed herself because her most beloved husband, Mark Antony, had killed herself because of her. Mark Antony spared her his heart, his lungs, because he had been told that her lover, his lover, Cleopatra the 7th, had been killed by Octavia. That's why Mark Antony killed himself. And when Cleopatra realized that Mark Antony was dying because of her, she said, I cannot live, I must die. And she made sure that she committed suicide herself. So we look at the good things she did, the manipulative ways of her life, her intelligence, her authority, her poetry. She was so good at poetry. She was a good speaker. She was a good diplomat. Why don't we concentrate on the good things Cleopatra did than the color of her skin? What does the color of her skin help you, Arabs, you Africans, you Caucasians? What does the color of her skin help you? To prove you African, you said she was black. She was not black. So what? How does the color of her skin help you? She died before Jesus was even thought about. She lived 2,000 years plus ago. Look at the good things she did, the things she helped to build in Alexandria, the relationships she helped to create in the region, the armies she commanded for over 20 years fighting. Look at the good Cleopatra did. Don't look at her skin color. Don't be a racist. Don't use a race card. Cleopatra was strictly a Macedonian Greek ruler that ruled Egypt because her family has been there for over 200 years. They were Caucasian. That's how I end this. Thank you so much, Dennis. Keep it posted, keep it with us, and please keep it Human TV Africa. Subscribe, like it, and see you in the next one.